Let's get more on this now by Antony Loewenstein, who's a freelance journalist based in occupied East Jerusalem. Thank you for joining us on the program. So do you think that we could see then normalizing relations, and is this just the first step?
Potentially. I mean, what Netanyahu has been doing for many years is trying to build alliances with countries that traditionally did not like Israel or its occupation across the Muslim world and elsewhere. Because the truth is, despite the fact that Israel's had an occupation now for over 50 years, very, very few countries in the world actually have any power to do anything about that. I'm thinking particularly Western Europe, some of which countries are very against what's happening. So what Israel's trying to do with Sudan and other African countries, who I might add are all dictatorships, is to try to build some kind of global alliance against what they perceive as a common enemy, which could be Iran or other kind of regional powers. So Israel's taking what it sees as a logical first step.
So have you heard anything from the Sudanese community there, particularly asylum seekers who might be seeking refugee status?
Well, they're very scared. I have spoken to people who work with them a lot. And what you see for many, many years now, that Israel essentially views virtually any African migrant as an infiltrator. That's their word, the Israeli word. And they've been kicking out and flying back forcibly many, many refugees to many African countries. And there are many Sudanese refugees here in Sudan who rightly fear going back to Sudan. And the fear is now they're going to be sent back forcibly as well. So it's sort of remarkable that there are many people who have fled countries like Rwanda and elsewhere who are now living in Israel and seeking asylum. And all these years, in the last decade, virtually, literally zero refugees have been accepted by Israel as refugees, despite the fact that many people are here with legitimate claims of fear. So Sudanese refugees here are rightly concerned that this could change their situation quite badly.
What about any response from the Palestinian side? Have you heard anything from them?
Look, the Palestinian officials or government are in such a poor state of affairs, as many viewers will be aware, that after Trump's recent so-called peace plan, they are just trying to really hold on to what kind of support they may have. The sad reality is that the Palestinian leadership, I'm talking here about the Palestinian Authority and, for that matter, Hamas, really have little to no influence to do anything on the ground to change this situation. They can barely get any support internationally that actually means anything. So although they'd be very much against growing ties between Israel and Sudan, their ability to leverage that to pressure Sudan is almost non-existent. They're so desperate and concerned to try to maintain their own influence and power here in Palestine, let alone worrying about other Muslim countries around the world. I mean, they should be, I might add, concerned about that, because if they can't get support internationally for a 53-year occupation against Palestinian territory, there's a problem.
Yeah, certainly. There's another election coming up in Israel in a couple weeks' time. How are people seeing this? Is it going to be a boost for Netanyahu's re-election bid, or could this possibly hurt him?
You know, most of the polls put the situation very similar to the last three elections in the last year. So it's very possible that come early March, there will be a virtual tie between Netanyahu and his major opponent, who I might add has virtually exactly the same views of the occupation in Palestine as Netanyahu. So it's not much of a difference, sadly. It may well help Netanyahu in a small way. Of course, the bigger issue here, Netanyahu has been charged with corruption in three major cases. That may well impact his re-election chances more so than building ties with Iran. But having said that, many Israeli Jews like the fact that Israel is increasingly accepted around the world, sort of conveniently ignoring the fact that they can maintain an occupation indefinitely and somehow get away with it. That's the case now, but I think in time that will change.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Antony Loewenstein joining us from occupied East Jerusalem. Thank you for your time.